this week's Founder Focus segment, where we dive into the inside stories behind some of the most impressive entrepreneurial journeys. Founder Focus takes us on an intimate conversation with innovators and entrepreneurs and the great companies that they've built. This is Steve Greenfield from Automotive Ventures, and thanks for joining us. This week, I'm excited to welcome our guest, Ibrahim Mesbah, who is the co-founder and CEO at RevolutionParts, a company focused on making it simple and affordable for car dealers to sell auto parts across multiple channels, including e-commerce, online marketplaces, and wholesale. The RevolutionParts platform powers more than $425 million in sales and reaches millions of unique buyers globally. We'll spend some time with Ibrahim today retracing his steps from the very early days of launching a custom software development company to the current day where he's leading a very successful company with 76 employees. So with that, let's welcome Ibrahim to the show. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Steve. I really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you, and just would love to talk more about RevolutionParts and answer any questions that you and your viewers have. So thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, great. So why don't we start with an overview of the company, and what can you tell us about RevolutionParts?
Sure. Yeah, so maybe just to start with kind of like what gets us up and drives us every day, right? So we fundamentally believe that buying parts is pretty complicated, right? It's not as easy as having a consumer, me and you, pick up our phone, pull up the Amazon app, order something and have it be delivered to our house within an hour, right? So we see a lot of fragmentation in the experience. We see a lot of complexity, inadequate data or incomplete data, not available pricing and availability across different options. So there's a lot of waste and fragmentation, and our really what drives us is, and our goal is to really transform the way parts buyers and sellers connect. And we do that by removing a lot of friction and waste out of that experience. So we want to create a frictionless marketplace where buyers and sellers can instantly transact and make that really easy and delightful. So we're, at a high level, RevolutionParts, like you mentioned in the intro, right? So it's an e-commerce platform. It's a one-stop shop that allows franchise dealers to very easily and quickly sell parts and accessories online across all channels. We can plug into an existing website. We can set up a separate web store, or they can sell on any of the marketplaces, eBay, Amazon, and Walmart, and really do this all by living within our platform. Right. The way I explain it to people, if you're familiar with Shopify, we've built Shopify for car dealerships.
Okay, great. It's very impressive, very impressive. So let's rewind the clock a little bit. Take us back to when you had the spark that really sort of like set you in motion for RevolutionParts.
Yeah, so one of our friends, so when I say our friends, my co-founder Andreas and I have known each other for over 15 years. We've worked together since college, right? And one of our common friends ran a parts department at a local dealership here in Phoenix called Showcase Honda. So we play poker and get together and play poker every while, but in one of those instances, right, there's a lot of discussion around, these are all the challenges I'm having, and I'm an engineer by trade, and so is Andreas. So like, wow, I can't believe you're having those type of challenges. Like one example was, right, an order got placed. He got an email with the credit card number, and the shipping department shipped the order. It's like, oh crap, I need to collect money on this. So by the time they type in their credit card number, the thing gets declined. And obviously there's a whole lot of issues with that in the first place, right? Sending credit card number and clear text in an email. Or just simply updating pricing, right? That was a big hassle. So he often sold stuff and lost money on it. So it was very surprising. And at the time we were at PayPal, right? So working at PayPal, which was eBay, it was owned by eBay at the time. So got a lot of experience and really grew a big passion for e-commerce and easily and safely and securely connecting buyers and sellers. So I had to dig in. So we started digging in to really understand why this is so complicated. He had a website with a legacy provider, looked at that, and just really felt that, wow, I could have a really big impact. I could help solve a lot of these problems make their lives better, allow them to be the dealership to be more competitive online. So that was a spark, right? The more research, we did a lot of research, and what we found was there was a big gap. And it's because, I mean, a car dealership can't just sign up for, let's say, Shopify and start selling parts, right? There's an order of magnitude of complexity when it comes to the sheer number of SKUs and all the relationships and all the auto-specific experiences and things that you have to create, right? So a lot of folks from the industry saw that gap and that need in the marketplace and built a software company. So we came at it from the other end, right? We're software guys that saw the gap, and we decided, well, started helping him out on the side, solving smaller problems, and started to see a big difference, and really realized it was a great opportunity for us to take our passion for e-commerce and kind of, experience with these modern consumer shopping experiences and eBay and PayPal and all that, and really take that passion and have a big impact in a really big industry, in the auto industry. Not just helping my friend, but it was very clear I could help many dealerships be more successful online and more competitive versus aftermarket.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about founders. I mean, you said that you know your co-founder. I've known your co-founder, Andreas, for 15 years. So
Yep.
There are entrepreneurs that go down the path of being solo entrepreneurs, and then you read blogs and books about like how important it is to have co-founders.
Yep.
How do you think about the path that you guys went down together as opposed to having been a solo entrepreneur?
So I haven't done it the other way, right? But I can tell you, I really appreciate having Andreas every day. It's almost like it sounds kind of silly, but almost like a second wife in a way, right? And we balance each other out pretty well, which is great. Even though we both have a technical backgrounds, but he's more passionate about the details and the numbers and the legal and the business case and the partnerships, and I'd say more operational and really excited about the vision, and he kind of tries to bring it down in terms of here's what we can do right now, right? But anyway, it's a really good balance. I can tell you at this point, I can really relate to people saying, well, being a CEO or entrepreneur is a very lonely job.
Right.
So I can't imagine not having him there, right? There's a lot of discussions that we have. It's a roller coaster of ups and downs. And having somebody there as a sounding board and as a partner, an equal partner, that we could hash this out and make some of these bigger decisions, and it's great. So I would definitely recommend it. If you can find somebody you can get along with, have really passionate debates with, but still walk away and committed and have a good relationship, and just remembering that it's not personal, like we are not going to have the same opinion about everything, which is great, right? That's what you need. But we all have the same goal, the same vision, the same passion and drive and purpose. And so I thoroughly recommend it. I honestly can't imagine doing it alone. So
that's great. So you talked a little earlier around the roller coaster of entrepreneurship, the highs and lows. What's the hardest decision you've had to make as an entrepreneur?
So this is still pretty painful, but okay, so it's been a really strange and painful year for a lot of people this year. And we've been bootstrapped till this year, right? We haven't raised any money, and we took the engineer approach where we've frankly been very conservative and very thoughtful and methodical. All right, I got X new customers. This is when I can hire the next person. Who should we hire? Right, and we were really building RevolutionParts as we were growing. So it wasn't a natural thing for us to say, let's just go out and raise money and go fast, right? So it was very. But anyway, so to answer your question, when COVID hit in March, it was a pretty scary time, right? So we got slammed with a lot of dealerships asking for cancellations, bill forgiveness. This was our first downturn in the industry, right? But I guess what we learned later, I mean, this is just something that happens every downturn, is a lot of dealers and dealer principals sent letters to their vendors asking for bill forgiveness. I think a lot of big companies proactively do that to kind of take market share from smaller companies that can't really afford to skip payroll for a couple of, sorry, not payroll, but to skip invoicing for a few months, right? But we got hit really hard with that, and and it was pretty scary, and the forecasts were pretty grim around, we're going to see about an 80% contraction. Our dealers were shutting down their wholesale. It was really bad. So we had to basically, we had to make a really hard decision to part ways with people, which we've never had to do. So that was a very tough thing to do because we have a pretty good team. Like, we take hiring pretty seriously. So it was heart-wrenching to have to part ways with some of those people. And luckily, we were able to hire back some of them, but not all of them. So yeah, I'd say that was a very new and painful experience for me.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. It's been an interesting year for sure. So let's turn the tables on that, and let me ask you, like, what's been the highlight of your entrepreneurial journey so far?
So it's, like, if I were to pick one thing, I mean, it's kind of tough. Like I said, it's been a roller coaster, a lot of highs and lows, right? So this year, a couple of good things happened recently. So we launched our very first OEM part store with Mercedes-Benz. That was a pretty big highlight because, I mean, we've been traditionally really focused on relationship at the dealer level. And this is an opportunity to really partner closer with an OEM and really amplify some of the success that we're able to deliver for our dealer partners. But that is a pretty good partner and pretty good validation that, Mercedes-Benz is super protective about their brand, right? So selecting us as their partner, I think that's just a really good milestone. We also closed a small round of funding with an automotive investor. That's been another highlight, and again, more validation that, these guys are, first of all, willing to give us money and back us and partner. And so, yeah, but just in general, in terms of where we are as a company, I mean, we, like you mentioned in the intro, I think we have about 80 people now, actually, over, $12 million in revenue. It's pretty cool to just sit back and look at how far we've gotten, right? Bootstrapped and where we are now. And the way I really think about it is we have a pretty good foundation. We have pretty good product. I think the market or the industry is starting to recognize that, which is great. We have a great team, and the foundation's there. That was the first leg, right? So now we're like taking a deep breath, going, all right, great. Now how do we build $1 billion company? Like we all believe there's a huge opportunity, and it's exciting, right? So
what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I've received a lot of good advice. A best piece of advice, I would say. Trust your gut more, which I know sounds pretty simple, but every business, every industry at every stage is different, right? So just because somebody you respect says that this is how you should do this, I think just really, if your gut says no and you're the entrepreneur, you're in the business and the company, trust that a bit more. And the other advice I would say is just surround yourself with people as much as you can that have been there, done that, and really try to kind of, use osmosis to try to kind of learn from some of their mistakes or get their perspectives, and then finally trust your gut to make the right decision. And I try to do this. It's really tough, as you know, to get time from some of these, founders, CEOs, but when you do, it's really impactful. They always have a really good perspective and really can distill down kind of some of their experience in their industry and their company, and a lot of that is very relevant. Also reading online, like I watch a lot of read articles, YouTube videos, and stuff like that, and you see how founders and other entrepreneurs handle big decisions or how they address their companies or their teams when good times, bad times. And it's always an opportunity. Like, you'd be surprised if you reached out, hey, do you think we can get on a 30-minute call? A lot of those guys would be like, yeah, I would actually love to talk and help and chat. So I've been very fortunate. Well, a lot of people have taken me up on that, and it's just.
So there'll be a lot of entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs who have tuned in today to listen to this. What's the most influential book or books that you would recommend to them?
So because I feel bad, I'm probably not going to remember the name of the author, but because we're in a space right now where we're ultimately trying to change behavior, right? Like, when I look at the space we're in, what COVID's done is, I think it's accelerated a lot of the shifts to a lot of people are now shopping online more than ever before, right? So we saw a big spike actually right after the stimulus checks went out. So that's great. But on the wholesale side, where we believe there's a bigger opportunity to have an even big impact there, we're trying to change behavior, right? A lot of that business is still done over phone. So one of the books that really resonated with me was a book that I think every entrepreneur should read, especially if you're trying to do something that's very different. It's called Crossing the Chasm. And it kind of talks about how you go about getting adoption, like in the early days, who you should target, what do they look like, what's really important, and then how do you cross the chasm and go more mainstream and get wider adoption, and how the business and the messaging and the brand and the positioning needs to evolve, and the offering. I would highly recommend that for every entrepreneur.
Yeah, you're not the first entrepreneur on this show to mention that book. I think we've had it mentioned 3 times now. Yeah.
Yep.
So let's abstract ourselves from current and fast forward 5 years. In 5 years, where might we find you, and what will you be doing?
So I'll still be hopefully at RevolutionParts because I am passionate about kind of what we're doing in the industry, and believe we're just starting to scratch the surface. But I would say, so right now we help franchise dealerships in the US sell parts online. And we power about $425 million in GMV, or parts sold, processed and sold through the platform per year. 5 years, love to be in the US working with more manufacturers like Mercedes-Benz, really powering that omni-channel experience. So retail, wholesale, digitizing, helping to digitize the parts department so they can be more efficient, close more business. But I also see us expanding. We just launched in Canada last month, so really expanding into globally. So I'd say North America, then maybe Europe, and also our vision's never been to just do auto parts, right? So a lot of the challenges that we've solved and I'm continuing to solve really also apply to other adjacent markets like heavy-duty trucks and heavy equipment, motorsports, etc. So I think you'll see a more diversified RevolutionParts that's plugged into many digital retailing flows with OEM partners, retail, wholesale, US and globally. So.
All right, well, last question for you. Since you are in the automotive field, I have to ask, but right now, if you could own any car in the world, what would it be?
So right now I drive a BMW 3 Series 335. I love just the feel of the car, and when the turbo kicks in, just like hearing it and that boost. And I saw, my wife showed me, she's like, did you know they just made an M8? Check this out. It's like, holy crap, wow, it's beautiful. So I would love to have that car if I could.
All right, well, there you go.
Yeah, maybe I'm not. Maybe I should think bigger there, but no, I love BMWs. I love my car, and that car looks just beautiful. So
Yeah, well, a good mixture of performance and being a daily driver for you, right? So.
exactly.
Well, Ibrahim, thanks for making time today. It's been great to dig into you and your past and the business, and I really appreciate you carving out a bit of time for us.
No, absolutely. This has been fun. Thanks a lot, Steve, and thanks for covering us. And look forward to continued discussions with you hopefully in the future.
Great.